We're a group of GenXers who became aware of our neurodiversity later in life. Join us as we share stories, interesting topics, and talk to special guests. Welcome to Season 2 of This Is How My Brain Works.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of This Is How My Brain Works. Today, we are really excited to welcome Liz Rutledge. She's a mindfulness educator, and she has a place where you can check her out, and we'll talk more about this in the episode, but you can check her out at sustainablehappiness.together.com. So without further ado, we're going to launch into Liz. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with mindfulness? And I know it's with respect to the schools.
Yeah, I am a mother of 3 children who are now 24 as of 2 days ago, 21 and 18. And
oh, you stopped at 24, like they're 24. Long pause, like, oh, triplets. Thought you had triplets.
Oh, no. Long pause.
It was such a long pause. I thought it was triplets. Okay, good.
No, I had 3 kids, 24, 21, 18, but they're in it's birthday season, so they're all changing to the next level. So I always have to pause and go, is it 21? I don't know. And so I've walked a little bit of the walk. And when our oldest was 12, I heard about a teen suicide of a 14-year-old boy. And I was like, how does a 14-year-old even know how to do that? So to give you the short version, I kind of threw myself at the psychologist at the middle school where we were and said, I want to help. How can I help? This is crazy. And so just feel a deep passion to support children, especially with tools and techniques that I learned growing up, but I didn't realize that it was what they're now calling mindfulness. And kind of just threw myself into it and had the kids come voluntarily. And I say now that my secret power is being able to get a room full of people, or my superpower is being able to get a room full of people to meditate without it being weird and woo-woo. So basically, I remove any references to spirituality or any of that stuff, and I'm now trauma-informed. So for about 10 years now, I've been teaching mindfulness and became Mindful Schools trained, so I follow a curriculum. And so I started at the middle school level. I did that for about 3 years before I went, oh my gosh, we need to start even younger before we lose them to hormones and social media. And so then I've been teaching at the elementary school. It overlapped for a while, but now I've been there this is my 9th year at one school in particular. So I've been able to witness, and that's the principle on the GoFundMe that we have for our current business. You know, he's been able to see what it looks like when a school has this every year for 9 years, right? You can see the results. And that's my piece of our business. And it was like a calling, I guess you could say. But I grew up with this kind of breath work from my dad. Like I was like 9 and woke up one morning. My parents were divorced, and it was right when it was intense. And I must have had a bad dream or something, woke up one morning thinking I was dying, like had a heavy weight on my chest. And I was like, Dad, you need to take me to the hospital. I'm dying. And I think I actually grabbed his car keys and was like, you need to take me now. And he recognized that I was having a panic attack. And he had me go back into my bedroom and lay down and watch my belly go up and down, and just kind of gently coached me on how to calm that down, because he and my mother did Lamaze when I was born and my sister was born. And so I don't know, I just fell into it kind of, but I didn't realize that was modeled for me. And at the same time, I have childhood trauma, generational trauma.
Are you a member of Gen X?
Yes. How did you guess?
Liz, did that, so was that impactful enough to where that stuck with you as far as a way to calm yourself down if you felt you were getting anxious, or from that point on, or?
No. Yes, Jason?
No, continue. But along that same line, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, of course not. Like it took me a long time and therapy and all kinds of stuff to come back around to that. but like, I think I might be slightly unusual because I was doing yoga when I was 12 with my 84-year-old grandmother. Like, we have this whole generational thing. Also, my grandmother and her mother, my grandmother was born in 1904, and her mother was into Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. And so now that I'm 50.
Wait. Now I want to know what's Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind?
Okay.
It's like Mile High Church. Yeah.
If you've heard, it's like Mile High Church. If you've heard of Louise Hay, has everybody heard of Louise Hay?
Oh yeah, I have. I had to
The
picture
affirmations. I think they actually made fun of her on SNL with the mirror work with Stuart Smalley.
Yes.
But if I may, so I have this note card. It's in my grandmother's writing above my desk, and it says, "Events in themselves do not produce stress. What creates overt stress is how we perceive and react to the event." And so now that I'm 53, I can look back and go, oh, wow, I was exposed to this all along the way. And my mom sprinkled it in, my dad sprinkled it in, my grandmother just straight up modeled peace and loving presence. And I was very close to my grandmother. And so I guess that's why it took me aback when that 14-year-old boy took his own life, because I was like, wait, don't these kids understand this is temporary? Like, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, but they don't understand that. And maybe they don't have a sense of support and tools to do that. And so the way I teach, I promise I'll stop talking at some point. The way I teach is in the sense of the issue for them might be in themselves. It might be in the classroom. It might be at home. It might be with a sibling. It might be a bully at the school. We don't know what causes upset for them, but the more we can start young, really young, and give them tools that they can go to no matter what the situation is, no matter what they deal with in life. And no, I am not saying this is a fix-all for everything. Maybe one day we won't have so many bullies in the world. So, Jason.
Rudy.
Well, okay, God, I have so much. Going back to Mike's question just quickly. So you were 12, you said at the time when your parents, first of all, you're very lucky to have that lineage, but you were 12 when you had that episode, or 14? How old were you when you had that episode?
I was like 9.
Okay, 9. And it goes to my question of, obviously we are of a group, and that's why we have this podcast, that didn't have those tools. We didn't really have people around us that knew those tools. Those tools were not even really in part of our language. So you're lucky in that part that you had some of that. And if I knew that then, some of my reactions to things at ages, certain ages of my life, even, to very recently, I would have been better served to have that tool but my question is, do you think that the age group you work with is now, preteen, like to 14, would you say? How do you battle that wall that happens when they become 13, 14, and the brain starts to really kick in and a lot of things are happening? How do you prepare them for that? Because I think what you're saying is, to Mike's question, that you weren't able to maintain the breathing, the calming yourself down at moments, and realizing later in life that, I can't, I was given this tool at 9 years old, but I really didn't, it escaped me. I don't know if it stayed with you or you came to realization later in life, like, what a great tool. But how do kids these days battle through those, ages 14 to 25,
Well, I now only work with elementary school children in person. I am going to just say, I don't know. because our brain chemistry changes when those hormones kick in. I think the magic is in, and there's probably going to be a whole bubble of children, teens that are becoming adults that I hope we haven't lost them, but I think it's very hard. For me, it took, I had a best friend from age 3 to 35. And when we were both 35, she died very suddenly. And I don't know what it was in that, but it was like something snapped or clicked, and I wanted to be different. And that's when I ended up ultimately coming back around to the tools and then going, oh my gosh, I like retrospectively realizing I had this all along. And so to answer your question, kind of, sort of, I think that we need to start young and we need to instill it in them so that they know in themselves that no matter what happens, that they will get through it. And that and here was the big learning for me with my own children, because no, I have not been a perfect mom. I don't even know what that is. They're on their own journey and they're suffering. Here's the mistake I don't know. We're all on our own journey. They're on their own journeys. And I was continually trying to keep them from suffering. You know, I was literally, if you did love and logic parenting classes, I was like the hovering drill sergeant for a while. And so realizing that in trying to keep them from suffering, I was doing them a disservice. And so I don't know how we reach the teens who have already, their puberty have started, whatever, but I know that, you know, we can try with helping them feel seen, heard, valued, honored. Listening is one of the big things that I definitely did not do enough with my children now, but now I'm better at reflecting and just holding a space for them, right? A lot of new child psychology talks about like getting at their, like for little kids, like get at their eye level and say, what do you need? So maybe it's in there somewhere. Like, what do you need? For the teens that, you know, I feel really shaky, but like hormones are very real. Like, I mean, they definitely affect us. And then we're battling against social influences, social media, anxiety, our society. I mean, I don't even know. The only thing I can think is just encouraging them to have a sense of like community, belonging. Like I always tell my kids, like, find your people. You know, maybe they're in stagecraft, or maybe you should join a choir or go to D&D club or whatever your thing is. You know, maybe it's knitting club or whatever, but just finding a place where you feel like you belong, because a sense of community and belonging is so important. And our churches are failing, our synagogues are losing people left and right. So I think that what used to provide a sense of community for a lot of families is kind of falling apart, while all this other chaos has been created, and
not to mention
navigate.
I just have a couple last questions and I'll be done for a while. But what were some of the hurdles that you went through as a teenager, young adult, that you didn't realize, maybe looking back in hindsight, that you had some qualities of being neurodiverse? I mean, we all looked back and said, oh, I didn't realize I would do this all the time, and no wonder I was like this or like this. But we didn't realize a lot of the things until we got together and just started talking about how we lived our lives as teenagers and how difficult it was, because we weren't given tools like you're giving children tools. Our parents had no idea, nor did it was hush hush. So was it at 35 when you also realized, oh, I don't know. That's my question.
Again, I think like looking back retrospectively, I now know why I wasn't a straight A student, because I remember sitting with my homework and like, did you guys, everyone's seen The Breakfast Club, you know, where she's doing the scratching her head and watching the dandruff make snowflakes on the art piece? Like, I would do that while I was supposed to be doing my homework. And when I look back, I go, no wonder I can't finish a book. No wonder I struggled to do my homework, because my brain was so like, just couldn't focus, right? But it wasn't like hyperactivity necessarily. And I think it's different now, right? The way I'm not exactly caught up to, it used to be ADD or ADHD, but now I think it's all ADHD. Is that right?
I think so.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
But they define the different types of ADHD, where some is more of that hyperactivity, some is more of an emotional component. So yeah, I think there's some similarities, but it is fairly individual.
Yeah. And that would probably bring me to, I did a lot of work. I did the Landmark Forum. I did women's circles. I did acupuncture, all these different modalities, therapy, all these different things, read books, went to the Mile High Church, did all these different things. And it wasn't until, I would yell at my kids or cry or whatever else, and then go, I want to be different every single day. And figuring out that for me, not for everybody, but for me, it's a non-negotiable. When I wake up, the very first thing I do is meditate. So sometimes I pee first, but like it's that important to me that I don't show up as what I had my kids try to call me, like, oh, when you see mommy, starting to spiral up, say, put your glasses on. I had these glasses I tried for a while, or like, call me smelly McGillicuddy. Like I was trying to control the genetic anxiety and all the things and I was very hard on myself as a mom. And then, it became important enough to me to do something that stopped that. And for me, it's that I have to meditate every morning for at least 10 minutes. For other people, that won't work. For other people, it's something else, but I'm just going to say it. Can I swear on this show?
Yeah.
This shit stops with me. So the generational trauma. So my mother's father, when he was 6, his mother died and his father abandoned him with his very strict German grandparents. I don't believe he was ever taught how to love. Somehow he met my metaphysical, amazing Welsh grandmother. They had my mother, who was an only child, and he must have had anxiety and never knew how to show love, self-medicated with alcohol, and was abusive badly, not only just physical, but also emotional. And my mother yelled and hit me. And I started to yell at I would yell at my kids, and then I would have those moments of like, no, like I don't, so this shit stops with me. And that's why I practice it. And then I ultimately want to teach kids so that whatever they're dealing with, I hope that something sticks. I always talk about like throwing spaghetti on the wall when I talk about the tools each week. Like I'm hoping one of these noodles will stick, And there was one girl last year in 5th grade that said, nothing that you have taught me has worked until this one today. And it was, when you breathe in, think I'm breathing in. And when you breathe out, think I'm breathing out, and just keep doing that. And I think that gives the busy, maybe ADD brains another algorithm to focus on, so that the nervous system can calm itself, and then there can be just a little more focus. So
I also
Amazing.
meditate 10 minutes in the morning. It's a cup of coffee and looking for my keys. It could last 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's right in that range. It's dark and it's 5 o'clock. So that's kind of how I meditate. And then once I find my keys, it's like, I wish it were different, and I'm trying to get where I'm not looking for my keys, but the coffee's good.
Liz, I'm with you on this. Like, there is something about starting the day in a mindset, in a where your body is more at ease. You've got some semblance of a perspective, and you're just kind of entering into something, instead of like, oops, I got to get up and hit the ground running. It's like it is an amazing difference if you do like even 10 minutes of something. I'll listen to these little guided meditations in the mornings, gratitudes or little things, just it's just guided stuff, or put on like a little sound bath or whatever. But it's really interesting how you feel in your body starting your day when you do that versus when you don't do that. It is fascinating how profound that of an impact it has.
Yeah, I, I agree. And again, it's not everybody's cup of tea. And my very logical computer science 21-year-old son the other day shared an article that I need to dig into, that it's a criticism of mindfulness meditation and how it's become very like a money maker.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't do what I do for the money. I do it for the impact. And there's a lot of ways to be able to meditate. I use Insight Timer and I'm on the free version, but my streak is like 420 days straight and it's like multiple thousands of hours, and that's gratifying. I think for those of us with ADHD, it's very helpful to have that gamification,
Oh,
keeping the streak, getting the badges,
Absolutely.
That in itself is a tool. Oh, I don't want to lose my streak. But I need to dig into that article, because I think that one of the things that they talked about in the article that I just skimmed is basically we need to give the message, like the medical disclaimer, basically, that this may not work for you. And also, if you start meditating and things get scary or icky and it brings up icky things, please go seek professional help. Like, I would just share that as a general disclaimer. It's not for everybody. My husband uses Plants vs. Zombies, if you guys ever did that game, as his meditation. For some people, it's a walking meditation. I have a friend who's like, sitting and breathing does not work for me, but there's this other kind of moving meditation. And maybe for some people, it's more like Tai Chi. Some people it's running. But I think if you can find something that supports you in showing up differently and better. And by the way, Jason, my mother could never find her keys, and that was one of my biggest frustrations. So we have a hook by the back door, and the keys always go on the hook.
If I could remember to put them on the hook.
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
I
Sarah,
don't always come in the same. I don't always come in the same door is the issue with the keys. But yeah, I had questions. So many questions. You said you've been working with the school for 9 years.
I think it's 9 years.
What are some of the rewards that you're seeing?
Well, so there's a GoFundMe campaign. We had this amazing film producer help us produce it. And one of the teachers talks about witnessing the little kindergartners reminding each other, you can do star breathing.
Wow.
You can do butterfly hug breathing or whatever. And that's something. But also, I think and this isn't the children, but the children, okay, what I'm witnessing is that the children are sitting and being less distracting than they used to be. The teachers in the classroom are participating more than they used to. But also, 2 different times, the school nurse who has 4 children at that school has come up to me, once last year and once or twice this year, and stopped me in the hallway and said, I want you to know you're making a difference, because, and she would give a specific example of how her kids are teaching her how to deal with her anxiety. And then a para last week said, oh my gosh, like, she stopped me on my way up, because I go from classroom to classroom, 5-ish minutes in each classroom. I see 500 kids a week. I don't know all the kids' names. And this para came up to me and she said, like, with these eyes, and she had come up to me last year too, I felt like you were talking to me. That's just what I needed to hear. And last year she said, I've never been able to meditate, and through your coaching, I was able to feel my body relax for the first time ever. And I was like, what? So I don't know the impact. I don't know exactly, but what I'm witnessing is and hearing about is less bullying, fewer trips to the principal's office, the kids teaching each other, reminding each other. I mean, imagine if you could take this little this little incubator and make it global. So that's what the goal is. And now I'm working with 3-year-olds, 3 and 4-year-olds.
Well, you know what? That's interesting because I'm sure not only do the kids as individuals have a tool to help with anxiety, but it creates a mindset of understanding another human, understanding that they're going through something. Oh, that's similar to me. Not they're crazy, that person's nuts, you bug me. They realize at an early age, or they start to understand that they're just like me. They're having the same issue here. How can I help them? Or they know what to do in this situation. It just gives, it gives us another tool to understand other people and humanity.
Yeah, and I think so. The one thing that helped me put it all into, systems help people with ADHD, right? Like systems. And the system of the Mindful Schools curriculum really helped me because I can say mindfulness meditation, mindfulness isn't just finding the present moment without judgment. It's not just breathing. It's also compassion, empathy, kindness, generosity, gratitude, and then tuning into sensations in your body. It can be being mindful of what you put in your body. What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you getting enough exercise? Are you getting enough sleep? And so I think that, yeah, it's tools, but it's also awareness. It's present moment.
Yes, we weren't aware. We just go through life until, 35 is a big age. I say every 7 years, there's a change, but we don't know ourselves until we're 35 anyway. You know what I mean? Like we don't understand. And then we only start then recognizing what hurts and, things that don't agree with you, food wise, things you can and can't do. You start recognizing that, but it takes a long time. You're not even thinking about that. You're not even recognizing your own being, your own body. You're just, that's just me. But
so, Liz, I have a question, Liz. Like you talked about, you're talking about this, mindfulness practice with these kids. But what you said early on was helping them identify things like what bullying is, or what's acceptable, or boundaries, do I have that right? Like, is that another component to your program where you're helping them like identify these types of things?
Yeah, well, and it's noticing, right? Like, I had a therapist go, when one of your kids, by the way, I am not an empty nester. 2 of our children still live at home. And so sometimes they'll say things and it doesn't feel so good. And she coached me to go, ouch. So helping them to just literally say like, ouch, but having them or coaching them to recognize, well, if it doesn't feel good when someone does it to you, maybe you shouldn't do it to other people because, what you put out in the world comes back to you. It's that whole golden rule thing. But I think
Boomerang.
What's that?
Boomerang.
A boomerang. It's like a boomerang. Exactly. I don't know if I answered.
Karma's not a bitch. She's a boomerang.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I wanted to just add that I wasn't officially diagnosed with ADD till I was 31, 30 something. I don't know. Our son was newly born. So it was like 2003. And I was put on Adderall and it made me feel like I had 10 cups of coffee. And I was like, I don't like this. So I too, Jason, love my cup of coffee in the morning because I feel like that helps me focus. So after the meditation, have that cup of coffee. Ritual, routine is comforting. But I don't know if we would necessarily.
But never put the coffee cup down because it's.
You'll never find it again.
No, like really, where's the coffee cup now? Now the keys and the coffee cup?
Maybe the keys are in the coffee cup.
Could be.
Yeah, so I think where it's A, don't be a bully, and B, if you see a bully, call them out. Like I one of the things I coach the kids on, and this is not in the Mindful Schools curriculum, but I coach the kids on saying 3 magic words that I taught my kids. That's not okay. You stand in your strength and you say, if it doesn't feel good, if they're saying something hurtful, that's not okay. Like that's all you have to do, and then maybe walk away, or but I think coaching kids on going, I see a bully, and maybe they need to be alerted to the fact that what they're doing is not okay. And I don't need to go and tell mommy and daddy. I don't need to go tell them snitch at the teacher necessarily. I can start with my own power, my own inner strength. And I did not have that when I was 13. Terrible acne called pizza face while I was waiting for the RTD to come in junior high, and I felt horrible and ugly and just awful about myself.
And I don't think our parents, that parenting generation, I don't think they were a group that necessarily, they just kind of kicked you back out and were like, get after it. I mean, that's kind of, I'm.
You think that hurts? I'll show you what hurts.
Right. I mean, it was just a lot of that. Even if, even with our minds as racy as they were and unable to focus and hyperactivity, which I was diagnosed with at a young age and didn't find out until I was about 47 when my mom was like, oh yeah, you were diagnosed with hyperactivity. And I was like, no wonder. I mean, what? But obviously it wasn't talked about. And so our parents, I think as a parenting generation, we as parents have really had a hard time sort of navigating the parenting, but understanding that, at some point we want you to be an advocate for yourself. Here are the tools to be an advocate for yourself. Know yourself, understand yourself, just understand yourself. You'll understand other people as well. And you'll stand up for yourself. And I think obviously that's helped in bullying but it's made kids stronger at a younger age. I mean, what you're doing and it just sounds like a program that instills a lot of confidence, understanding.
It also seems, Rudy, like when you're describing our parents, we didn't really get validated very much, like how we were feeling about things. It was more like, oh, deal with it, or it was like the tough love thing. Whereas Liz, it seems like your program has that validation piece in there. Like the kids can say, hey, I see this in you. And what a powerful thing to be validated just at any age. But then if that can start that awareness of how to do that, if you give them the tools that early.
Right. If we're 2 first graders and I say, Michael, that's a great shirt you got on today. I like your shirt. Then it's like, oh, I remember how good that felt. I mean, there's awareness. It's not, I think maybe in the old days, like, what? I don't know, whatever grade we were in, I don't know, 6th grade. But you'd probably eventually come back and say, hey, I like your shoes, man. We didn't have that awareness. I don't think.
It's the flip side of the ouch. So it's both and. It's not just teaching what does it feel like when it feels dysregulating. It's also what does it feel like when it's right? Because that's what you just said, Michael. I'm just summarizing.
Oh,
but that's hugely to me. Manna from heaven. Anyway, go on.
We didn't get the praise. We didn't get any praise. It was almost expected. I don't feel like we were praised or that was reinforced. It it was expected. It was expected.
And just
Liz-
to flip the script a little for the parents of us, and this may be Gen X, I can only imagine how little they had to, how little awareness of their own feelings, of their own sense of safety in the world, for whatever reasons. Was it the Red Scare, the Cold War stuff and nuclear Armageddon? Was it, you know what I mean? Like what they went through. Like as I sit here thinking about, wow, I would have liked to have been parented maybe with a gentler touch. I can only imagine that they probably would have liked it too. Like I try to imagine them as the kids they were once too.
Yeah, and Sarah, I'm glad you said that, because I was sitting here going, oh, I've talked about my mom and she sounds really
Yeah, no, exactly.
And I want to acknowledge my mother, who's still living. She's 82. She still teaches piano lessons. She was an organist. She loved the organ. So she worked in churches from age 15 till last year.
Wow.
And she was one of the people when I was young. One of my friends at a party stole my pom-poms. I think I was maybe 8 or something. I don't know. And apparently the other parents were like, why is she crying? Why is she upset? It's not that big a deal. They're just pom-poms. And my mom had said, yeah, and she's hurting. And so she was aware. My mother was aware. She had my grandmother as her mother. And she was like, and she has said many times over my lifetime, your pain, you should never compare your pain to somebody else's pain, because it's your pain. And going back to the whole, it's everyone's on their own journey. And I have done some of the, I think it's Louise Hay that does the thing where you take your parents and you make them young and you all do Ring Around the Rosie, and you acknowledge that like they're human too on their journeys, and they were doing the best they could with the tools they had at the time. And maybe you forgive them, maybe you just at a minimum acknowledge they're human too. My dad has stage 4 prostate cancer. It's metastasized. And so I've been doing these interviews where you ask questions, and have kind of uncovered the fact that he was one of 3 kids, and his mom worked 2 jobs, 7 to 7. And, no wonder he didn't have a lot of affection as a child, because she didn't have time. So to your point, Sarah, like it was a different world, it was a different time, but also not everybody had a great grandmother who did just look up Ernest Holmes' Science of Mind. It's phenomenal, but it's along the lines of, empowerment and energy and things like that. But yeah, I mean, they were doing the best they could. And my dad has a very gentle presence, but he was also gone a lot and not present a lot. And I could be resentful of that, or I could just go, you know what? I get to interview him every Saturday until I can't. And that's pretty awesome. So.
Yeah.
Liz, now we mentioned the GoFundMe campaign that you have out there, and I went and watched the video, and it's so well done. And then now you have a goal, and what happens when you are able to raise those funds and keep things moving?
So I have a business partner who is a Heart Math certified coach and trainer. She's certified in the science of happiness and well-being by Berkeley and Yale. And we have tag teamed to create a program for adults that isn't really getting a lot of traction, but our program for young children has been in 2 schools for 3 years. But it's, 2 white women talking at kids. And we have had the grand luck of meeting a neuroscientist who happens to be friends with Brian Doubleday, who is an Emmy award-winning film producer who's worked with the likes of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Sir Anthony Hopkins, and is like buddies with Bernie Sanders and Bob Dylan. And that's awesome. So that's why the video is so great. It's like so well made. And ultimately, the money will fund our program being animated and then ultimately using AI translated into languages, so we can get the messaging that we have to children all around the world. And hopefully, I mean, I wouldn't turn down the Nobel Peace Prize or just be able to revel in world peace in my lifetime. That would be pretty awesome. So that's what the money is funding. And then also social media marketing, because we have an amazing, if you saw the video, the woman with the pink hair, she's a homeschool mom of 5 kids, two of whom are neurodivergent. And even though they're not in the age range our program, which is for 3 to 6-year-olds, is targeted to, she's like, this is so needed. So she's going to be doing our social media ultimately, and she's going to rock it. So it's just to pay for all those things, basically.
Wow. And the animated series will just kind of live on your web platform, or how will you distribute the content?
For now, I mean, Michael, if Disney calls, I'm not gonna, block them. So, but we could
Awesome.
really use a power partner or an affiliate that could help us get it out big faster. But yeah, I don't know what that
Fantastic.
looks like yet.
Mackenzie Scott, if you're listening,
yeah,
this could be the path to your Nobel Peace Prize, your second one. I feel like you deserve more than one.
Oh.
Not Mackenzie Scott. You
Yes,
too, Liz.
Exactly. That would be amazing.
Yeah. And now, so I can't not address the elephant in the room. I know you say that you have ADHD or ADD or some acronym thing that others have. How do you still your mind to meditate? I don't believe you that it really works to help focus on people with ADHD. The end of my question, Liz. Sorry.
It's because I've been doing it so long. I usually listen to something while I'm meditating, and that helps. Like I said, that like getting one of the spinning plates, focusing over here, can help, the central nervous system to relax. But it can be cues like, feeling your chest rise or your belly go out and back in. Sometimes it can be like a physical, like giving yourself a hug, like giving all the many spinning plates, something to spin on out over there so that you can focus in here in the center. And then just sensations, like I don't know if you've ever done a body scan, and it's like training your mind to focus just on, a color, a sensation, and the top of your head while you're breathing, right? So it's not just breathing, I'm breathing, I'm thinking about a green light shining on my head, and then I'm maybe imagining it. As one of the visualizations I talked about with the kids is like, if you shake up a snow globe, that's kind of how it feels to be alive. And then if you imagine those snowflakes slowing down and settling, you can literally feel your nervous system calm down. And it's a practice. We're never done. We're never truly masters. I think the most Zen masters would say, like, you're never finished, but maybe it's a tool. Like, I always wear a mala. This is a good reminder to like have something. So I'm touching the mala. I'm the feeling of my fingers touching the mala, and I breathe in, and maybe I'm even thinking I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And then there's all these different breathing patterns. And then I move to the next bead, breathe in, breathe out. And then that like dopamine hit of I made it through the whole mala, or in the case of like the Insight Timer or whatever, your favorite Calm app or whatever, I'm not promoting anyone in particular, that streak of getting that going. But I think guided meditations are helpful. I think body scans are helpful. I think music is helpful. For some people, it's ocean waves. And by the way, some days the ocean waves drive me nuts and I can't do that. So it depends on the day. It depends on what you're feeling like. And there's also walking meditation. There's also lying down meditation. And really all it is finding now, and then finding now again, and then finding now again and again and again. And it's a practice. Something just fell. It's a squirrel. It's a practice, and as long as you just realize like you're never going to be done.
And how do your
The life
kids
journey.
how do your kids resonate with that concept?
My own children?
Well, I guess yeah. I mean, but the 3 and 6 year olds and the students, are they able to understand that concept of like it is a practice and this is something that you bring with you throughout your life?
Yeah, and I start out and I reminded them this week that if this is not your thing, my only request is that you sit there quietly, because for someone in this room, this might be a lifeline. This might be just what they need today. The 4-year-old.
That's how you trick them into doing it.
Exactly. The 4-year-olds do it the best. They get it.
Wow.
Okay, so I just wrote down categories.
They don't have a care in the world. There's not. They don't have 15 plates spinning, right? They're
It
just
was one
like,
of the
yeah,
4-year-olds.
I'm 4. I'm
Exactly.
4 years old.
Only 4 plates spinning. But it was one of the 4-year-olds last week that goes, "Why are we doing this?" And I was like, so I was like, how do I explain this to a 4-year-old?
Good question.
And I said, so that you know that you are strong on the inside, no matter
What
what.
did they?
That's great.
Seem to get it.
Awesome. God, I love that.
So I made categories of meditation and I called it Finding Now. And here's all the categories that you just listed for people with ADHD or other ways to try to access that center, that finding that now. So I'm gonna put my readers on and inspect my notes. There's the intellect version, which is I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And every time you forget that, go back to the finding now of I'm just gonna use my brain to kind of almost intellectualize what I'm doing. There's the visual one, I think, which is like, I'm going to picture my head and a green light for the visual learners. There's the body, and there's kind of 3 ways of the body that I saw, that I heard. There's the kind of still body where you're scanning and maybe watch your stomach rise and fall, like your dad taught you. Then there's the tactile body, which is your fine motor skills. So you do your mallow beads, and your gross motor skills. Maybe you wash the dishes, which is a famous meditation that I forget who the famous person was like, just wash the dishes, or we'll go for a walk would be your gross motor skills. And then there's the audio, which is to listen to music or the ocean or a guided meditation. And then I think the kind of asterisk to all of these is that they can be combined and used together, separately, or however. Did I miss any type?
Well, and I just thinking about the
Very
love
cool.
languages, I would add the one where you can, especially if you're having a freak out moment, you can, there's the crossbody. I don't know if you guys know about the crossbody work, and also EFT tapping. So it's kind of a combo where you just literally hug yourself and hold yourself. So Rudy, Jason, whatever you want to be called.
Whatever. It's all
Tomorrow morning when you have your coffee, hold the cup, feel the weight of it, smell it, inhale it, feel the steam on your face, inhale the aroma, notice what that does. What is it about coffee that you love? And when you take that first sip, have gratitude for all of it, the growers of the beans, the roasters, the delivery people. How did it get in your cup? And so that's a whole mindfulness practice. And I actually have a class called the Mindful Journey of the Mindful Journey of the Senses. And another thing that I do is if you take a mandarin orange and you look at it, look at the texture, you start to peel it and notice the oil sprinkling off of it. You peel it and notice the pith, notice that the little pulp looks kind of like butterfly wings. And then when you peel off one segment, smell it, put it in your mouth, hold it, don't chew it. Notice the saliva going, and it's probably going now, just me talking about it. And just try to find the present moment, and even just like eating. And no, we don't have time to eat every meal that way, but it's like it's finding now and finding now and finding now.
And the truth is,
all
Love
day.
it.
I think the hardest, you talked earlier about streaks, how we love streaks, we love formats and patterns, systems. For me, it's always been, how do I start the streak? Oh, today I'll start the streak. Like dieters are always like, I'll start on Monday. Never start on the weekend, but I'm going to start on Monday, or I'm going to start, and there's always a date. And it is one thing, Liz, that I'm so desperate to try and conquer, is the mindfulness, the meditating, taking a moment, because I've always gone 0 to 60 in a second with certain things. And I'm trying to bring that down to like 0 to 20 in the same amount of time. And I'm trying desperately, it's like, I need, Michael, if you could just record that piece and just send that to me, so that when my alarm goes off, I can just have you guiding me through that. Take your coffee, Jason. Take a minute. Like, my mind, unless I've got someone saying it to me almost every morning until I get off my feet and I can do it myself, I need something to push me, something to get me to that point. And what you just did, I would love to have a video of you just saying, look, take a minute, enjoy your coffee, smell it, hold it before you drink it. And my mind is like, I would forget this tomorrow morning already. I'd wake up tomorrow morning, go for the coffee, oblivious almost to what we talk, because there's so many other things going on in my mind. And so I love it so much. I'm going to try my best, and I'd love to get on a streak, and I'll let you know. I mean, I'd love to get on. And I know, Sarah, you were on a meditation streak for a while. I know that.
Oh, I still am. I mean, my question was mostly for other people, not for me. I totally love to meditate. Girl, you could catch me meditating at a red light.
But I need that once, if I can just get my feet off the ground and have someone sort of be there and kind of coach me and help me through it. Whatever.
Rudy, what time do you wake up?
About 4:45.
In that magic zone that the millionaires wake up at the 4 a.m.
But what I need to do is I need to find something on my phone that my alarm will go off and remind me immediately. Hey, take a minute here. You just got up. No need to rush here and there and look for this and try and get this. Just take a moment. You have plenty of time. Take 10 minutes, and just reconnect with yourself.
It has to become, it has to become a non-negotiable.
Yes.
Right? It has to become non-negotiable. So it becomes, I had Toastmasters yesterday. I was delivering a speech. The day before that was really hard. And I still took the time to meditate. I did not shower. I put on makeup. I did not shower. I didn't eat breakfast. I ate later, but it could be, do you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
I forget what they call these. Essentially, you make it a giant icon. I forget what they call those. But you can, if you hold
Icon's great. Icon works great.
Yeah, I can't remember how you do it, but you pin it to the top. So this is my insight timer on the left side of my thing. I have the insight timer, and it tells me what my streak is, and it says "See you tomorrow." And then this other one is called the Fabulous. Have you guys heard of the Fabulous app? I got sucked into Instagram ad, and it was all about ADHD.
I did too.
I use it, and it's actually helping. But it's for me, Jason, it's just you have to want it. Something has to be like I said, this shit stops with me. So
Wait,
the
Liz,
generation.
what was the fabulous? What was the other one you used? Tell me all of the ones. We're not plugging anyone.
We're
Well,
not
there's
promoting any
the
specific
The
meditation.
Fabulous, and then they have like kind of a suite of these apps. I think the
Yeah.
Fabulous is like their flagship, and then there's one that's even more drilled into ADHD called Clarify ADHD.
But that, Michael, that makes my head spin. So I'm just
Yeah.
focusing on Fabulous
Yeah.
and Insight Timer. Those two are the big ones at the top of my iPhone. And I don't know if Android
Insight
has that.
Timer. Sorry, it keeps cutting in.
Yeah, Insight Timer.
And that's
It's
what the app
literally
is
just
called.
Yeah, it's literally just a timer, but there's also Calm, and there's a whole slew of them.
There's one called Aura, AURA. That
Aura, yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Aura,
And kind of
Aura.
just pick your favorite. Try a bunch of different ones. Also, you don't need any of them. But for those of us
Right.
who struggle with I'll forget it tomorrow, because I feel ya. Like those things that pop up and go, it's time, and that's a perfect thing. And also just going like, I wake up, maybe I pee, and then that's the very next thing I do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this hour has flown by,
I know.
y'all.
I talk a lot.
What a great interview. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
feel like
Thank you for having me.
Love what you're doing. It's so needed, and I love hearing the success stories of just those kids that you described and how they're helping each other out. That's just so touching.
Thank you.
I would
So-
4 again.
Yeah.
Me too,
I mean,
Rudy.
You know what I'm saying?
It would
Yeah,
be
Anyway,
it would
that's
be
great.
nice.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, thank you.
So if you want to know more, you can find links to a lot of the things we mentioned in our show notes, including Liz's GoFundMe and her website. Oh my gosh, my thing closed. Sustainable. There we go.
sustainablehappiness-together.com.
Thank you.
That's it.
Teamwork.
My
makes
other
the
jam
dream
is
work.
sustainability, and my business partner, I had Sustainable 3, she had Catch Happiness, and so we combined efforts, so we're Sustainable Happiness Together.
Love it. Well,
Love it.
Thank you guys for spending another hour with us. And if you want to know more about meditating, please, like we said, check out the show notes and be mindful, y'all.
And
Thank
and
you.
just real quick, I'm sorry, Sarah, the GoFundMe
Yeah.
from meltdowns to mindfulness, transforming children's lives. And so or I'm sure if Liz, if they just search for Liz Rutledge and GoFundMe, or how can they find it on? We'll put a link to it in the show notes.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
If you like this episode of This Is How My Brain Works, please like, subscribe, and share. If you'd like more info on the hosts, guests, and topics, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening.